Anybody finishing the second grade completely literate, he could find a bear trapper. The guy could read the newspaper, could tell him how the government worked. See, that was the reason that the early settlers were successful, because they were knowledgeable. They knew how to do things. They knew how to build roads and structurally sound bridges and containment facilities and dams. They knew how to invent things when there was a problem. They had what's known as the can-do attitude. And that was what propelled America to the pinnacle so quickly. We're now in the process of replacing that with the what can you do for me attitude, which will take us down just as quickly, unless we the people are willing to do something about it. We can't simply let the status quo dictate to us what's important. You listen to the status quo, and don't take this the wrong way, I don't have anything against sports and entertainment. But they'll make you think the most important thing going on right now is whether the footballs had less air in them that Tom Brady was throwing. While the fabric of our nation is deteriorating, while the education of our populace is going, they'll make you think dancing on the stars is more important. We have to be smarter than that. It's the reason that God gave us those incredible brains that he provided for us. And that was something that my mother understood. She insisted that we read books. And we read. I didn't like it at first, but after a while I began to enjoy it, because remember I told you I hated poverty. But between the covers of those books I could go anywhere, I could be anybody, I could do anything. I began to know all kinds of things that other people didn't know. What a difference it made for my perception of myself and the kinds of achievements that I had from that point on. And in the space of a year and a half, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class, much to the consternation of all those students who used to laugh and call me dummy. What a difference it makes when we utilize that brain. You know, we need to understand that we are made in the image of God. And God is no dummy. These brains he gave us are so complex. They remember everything we've ever seen, everything we've ever heard. Some people say, don't learn this, you'll overload your brain. You can't overload the human brain. If you learned one new fact every second, it would take you more than 3 million years to challenge the capacity of your brain. And I don't know anybody that old, so you don't ever have to worry about that. But to give you an example of how complex your brain is, how many people here remember your birthday? Let me just see your hand. Okay, just about everybody. Now what did your brain have to do for you to respond to that question almost instantaneously? Well, first of all, the sound waves had to leave my lips, travel through the air, enter your external auditory mediators, travel down to your tympanic membrane, set up a vibratory force, which travel across the ossicles of the middle ear to the over and round window, set up a vibratory force in the inner lymph, which mechanically distorted the microcilia, converting mechanical energy to electrical energy, which travel across the cochlear nerve to the cochlear nucleus at the pontomedullary junction, from there to the superior olivary nucleus, ascending bilaterally up the brainstem to the lateral meniscus, to the inferior colliculus and the medial geniculate nuclei, across the thalamic radiations to the posterior temporal lobes, and begin auditory processing from there to the frontal lobes, coming down the tract to jury, retrieving the memory from the medial hippocampus, striking the mammary bodies, back to the frontal lobe, starting the motor response at the bet cell level, coming down the cortical spinal tract, across the internal capsule, into the cerebral peduncle, descending down to the cervical medullary decussation, into the spinal cord gray matter, synapsing there, going out to the neuromuscular junction, stimulating the nerve and muscle, so that you could raise your hand. And that's the simple version of what your brain has to do. See if you can get one of those rap singers to do that. But, you know, if you can... If you can do all that, if you can do all that in a fraction of a second and you barely have to think about it, can you imagine what the human brain is actually capable of doing if you actually put your mind to it? That's why God gave us these brains. And we are perfectly capable, if we use them, of solving the many problems that face us and that face our nation. $18 trillion national debt. Can we solve that problem? Of course we can. Can we be fiscally responsible? Of course we can. First of all, we have to understand what we're facing. $18 trillion. If we tried to pay that back at a rate of $10 million a day, that's a number you can understand. It would take you 5,000 years to pay it back. Back to the time of the pyramids. $10 million a day. That shows you how ridiculous it is. And our Congress and our president consider it a victory if it goes up less than it did the quarter before. That's not a definition of victory. It has to go down. We have brains that can figure out how to do that. It's called don't spend so much money. You know, what, I mean, it's like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. You know, it just,